Hello and welcome back, guys. This is Ibrahim Quraishi here. Today we are going to start a session on patching and security. So let's have a quick look at updates. So we have quite a few updates here which you can see. We are using Lifecycle Manager from version 7 anyway. So this I have recently updated my vCenter server to version version 7 update 3, so it was running only version 7 before, but my ESX hosts are still on version 7, as you can see. If I click on summary, you'll see that they are still running ESX 7.0.0, but my vCenter, if I click on the top, you will be able to see it's running version 7 update 3. Okay, but again there are more updates available for the vCenter itself. So we will cover how to update vCenter in the next session maybe. Okay, but today we are going to look into the updates, how to update the ESX host, and what else we can do with the ESX host or the update manager, which basically now we are calling the lifecycle manager. Okay, so when we go to updates, we have obviously baseline, image, VMware tools, and hardware. So these are all related. All these items are related to the ESX host, because VMware tool versions is highly dependent on which ESX version you are running on your environment. So if you are running a ESX, say for example version 7.0.0, then it is going to be a hardware version of 17. If you have an older version like ESX 6.7, you may get hardware version 14. So that's again directly dependent on your hardware version. But this tool basically also allows you to remediate VMware tools and hardware versions again to multiple ESX hosts. So you can basically upgrade to match the host, select the VMs which you want to upgrade, and then you can remediate VMware tools using this. You can do a status check first. We have, it says how many VMs we are having up to date, and the ones which are not, it's all listed here. Now a word of caution around this really is when you are using automatic deployment tools like this, and if say for example your VM doesn't have VMware tools installed in the past, 100% it's going to need a reboot, and it will reboot. So you need to have a change around it when you're doing it, and when you're doing it on a mass volume of VMs, I would also give you a word of caution, because if you don't have so if you're doing it for the first time, the best practice is do it one at a time, take a snapshot, and if you upgrade the VMware tools and if it does not work or function properly, then you can basically revert it. Same goes with hardware version. Now hardware version is directly compatible with again ESX host again, but I'll give you a little bit insight here. So VMware tools, it says it's running, and it's running this 11.269 version, which is the current version, and the compatibility, this is the hardware compatibility version, and it's saying 17. Now if you don't know how to upgrade the hardware version, it is quite simple, to be honest, but this is how you may do it if you do need to do it. So basically you let me find a lab which has some VMs. So if I right click on this, compatibility, upgrade VM compatibility, so hardware compatibility, that's what it is. Yeah, they changed the name. Before it used to say upgrade hardware version, now it's saying compatibility. And you can schedule it, so you can schedule it to be done in the night time as well. So that's another thing you can do it. But again, if you don't have a snapshot and you have upgraded the version, it's a one-way road, so you can't go back. And if you do find some versions of Windows Server 2008 not working, then you may end up creating a new shell and attaching the hard drive, so it's a long-winded problem which you have caused yourself. So always go for a snapshot, guys. Okay, so I do have, obviously this is a live session, by the way. I do have guys who have joined. I have Sonia and Ruparanjan here. Again, guys, ask any questions if you want to in the middle, if you have any questions. Okay. Okay, so let's go back to our setup. So we go on our physical and we are going back to updates. So we covered VMware tools and hardware. Best practices, I would say, if you're doing it for the first time, take a snapshot and do it one at a time. And in that way you can revert back. It goes for both VMware tools and hardware version as well. Now there's also a section here for image. Say for example you have one of the ESX hosts running 6.7 and the others are running the latest version, so you can import the image of version 7, and then basically you can remediate, basically you can upgrade the existing ESX host which is running on an older version using this. Now what is the other way to do it, Sonia? Do you remember we discussed it briefly?
Sorry, I missed your question.
So one way of doing it is basically doing it from this update manager, right? Upgrading an ESX host which is 6.7 to a different version. Yeah, and we briefly discussed if I do have like a version 6.7 running in my environment, what is the other way to do it, like other way to upgrade it to version 7? So traditional way, right? You stick a CD in and then basically reboot it and then let it boot. When it boots, it will say, hang on, I have 6.7 installed and this CD you're putting in is version 7. So what it does at this point is basically it will give you two options. It will ask you, do you want to wipe off completely what you already got, or do you want to upgrade it? And at that point you say upgrade, and then you just basically move on. Now the only thing you will find if you say upgrade is you do not need to give the password, because you already are upgrading and you have got 6.7 running. Now in an instance you accidentally selected a new install, then it will ask you for a password, and immediately you need to think, hang on, why is it asking for a password when I'm upgrading it? Well, it shouldn't, right? If you are doing a new installation, only then it will ask you for a password. So if you did do a new installation, then everything will be wiped off. It will come up as a brand new host. You have to redo the networking, redo the storage and everything like that, and then all the baselines and all that. But once you upgrade, you have to redo the baselines anyway. But word of caution there, if you are upgrading with a CD, it will not ask you for a password, and it will have an option for, do you want to upgrade or do you want to do fresh install? You select upgrade, and that's how you do it. So but if you do have ESX host like this 6.7 and you do want to upgrade it, we can do it via this one. Now over here, this cluster is a little bit of mixture of 6.7 and 7, so the options here are a little bit different, and I'm selecting this host, so it is giving me different options again. So be mindful of that. What we can do, let's go back to our cluster. We can add the ISO of version 7, and then once it is added, then we can basically upgrade the ESX host which is running on an older version just by using the update manager wizard. Click next, accept the terms and condition, and then you'll basically say, it will say that it will reboot and then finish, and then what it does, it basically upgrades the version from 6.7 to version 7, and it goes offline, reboots, and then once it is back online and reconnected, it reconnects to the vCenter. That is another advantage of doing it via this one. You don't need to go and open the remote management tool, like the server on the physical server. You don't need to open ID rack or ILO or SIMC or anything and have multiple windows there. You can just do it, manage it from here. So once it is rebooted, maybe you can have it open. I normally prefer to have inside lights out, or some kind of remote control mechanism, just to keep an eye on the ESX host screen while it's doing the upgrade, whether it's going smoothly or if it gets hung or something like that. So it's always good to have anyway. Okay, so let's go back here. So what are we going to do? We basically click on images and baselines. So to create a baseline, first you need to understand what are baselines. Baselines are basically there are two types of baselines. One is called just a baseline which has the security patches, or you can have a baseline for third-party vendor patches, or network drivers which we can get from VMware, called VIBs, which is vSphere installable what was it, vSphere installable bundles, right? Bundles, right? So VIBs, which we call. So to do that, basically what we do is we click on attach, and then you get whoops, three options here: attach a baseline or a baseline group. That's when you already have one, but this is a vanilla ESX server, I guess, brand new, it doesn't have anything. So we have to then basically create and attach a baseline, and then we can also create a baseline group. Now why would we create baseline groups? So as I said, we can have a ESX baseline, and then we can have a baseline for network drivers or storage drivers with which is like a web again, and we can have different baselines for different versions, and then you can attach all that in a new baseline group, and then you just need to attach that group, baseline group, and deploy it. We'll see it in a minute when we start doing it, but let's start by creating a new creating and attaching a new baseline. Okay, and the way I would do it is basically we will roll up everything till March. So obviously we are in April, and I will basically patch everything since the ESX is because this is the first time I'm doing, so it's since the ESX is built till March 2022. So the baseline would be something like March rollup 2022, and then if I do it after 3 months, I will do it in June. So I will call it June rollup 2022, and that's how simple it would be. And in this way, basically I only select till March. After March, everything will be unselected. So if I run this baseline in May, it will not actually include April's patches accidentally. Now when we are doing patches, it goes without saying, the patching method should be how we have always been doing for Microsoft security patches and everything else. So you basically do it how you do it on your test environment, leave it for a week or two, and then you do it on your dev, leave it for a week or two, and then you basically come and touch your production environment after you know that you have run it for at least a good month and you have not seen any issues. Then you basically do your production environment. Hope that is clear. Yeah, so basically in here you get three options. So they are patches and extensions and updates. So we are basically going to do the updates because it's for the ESX host. So click on next, and then this is basically asking you to select an ISO. So we don't have one really at this point. Let's go back. Yeah, this is a selection of ISO. Let's select patch. Again, it will ask us to create a baseline around this. So we can say yeah, that's better. So upgrade is, as I said, when you're upgrading from version 7. So let me correct myself here. So basically, as I said, we discussed about a use case where we have version 7.6.7 and we are upgrading to version 7, right, Sonia and Ruparanjan? So for that particular upgrade, this is basically going to be the upgrade option. So let's do that. So upgrade is upgrade to version vSphere 7. Okay, or we can say vSphere 7 upgrade. That is basically an upgrade, right? You select that and then basically select the ISO and click next. So for selecting ISO, what is happening here? So I need to upload the ISO before I do that. Okay, let's go back. We'll revisit the upgrade option, how to do it, but let's focus on patches, because for patches, basically again you will go March roll up 2022. I didn't upload the ESX, that's why we can't do the upgrade one, but we'll do it later. So okay, so we will say we want critical and we want security, maybe only we are focusing on security, so that's what we'll select. And we can basically select a release date and on or before date. So as I was saying March, I need to select on or before March 31st. So it will include everything. This is very important bit here. Before, on or before date, on or before 31st of March. That means my roll-up name, my baseline name is March 20 roll-up 2022. So everything, all the security bugs and security patches till March 31st is going to be included. Now let's see if we can say any. You have how many matches? 173 matches, right? If I say only security, there are only 41 matches. If I only say bug fix, there are 132. Can you see that? So these are the patches which have already been downloaded and they are here. So if I say any, critical any, so that's all it's going to take. So if I say any total, there are a lot. They are like 928. So it is going to cover critical, important, and moderate and low. But if you are only focusing on critical, they are 173. So that's what we are going to do. And we have selected on or before, which is 31st of March 2022. And there you go. Everything is there. You just don't need to worry about anything. You just need to basically see what updates we have. So these are all the updates. Now I'm doing this after a long time, so I might be, let's see what happens when you click next. Okay, there you go, it has created it. Let's go back. Do I need to select any of them?
Yeah,
You're right.
yeah.
So yeah, so that's going to be a long day then for me. 38, right? Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Okay, so let's go back. Let's be reasonable here. Let's only say security. So 41 matches. Click on next. Now the trick here is, you again, this you can't run around this, and I remember now doing it on the one of the other boxes. Now you need to remember what we are running, right? You don't have Lenovo and all that, so why have I selected any? So we are only going to select VMware, so we are going to narrow it down to VMware only. Okay, if you have other hardware like Cisco, you can select that. Broadcom, sorry, and select that. So basically we are going to narrow down to VMware. Okay, this VMware Inc as well. I don't know what that does. Okay, select that and then click next. So these are the ones which are related to VMware. You still have Broadcom and stuff like that, isn't it? Should narrow down really. No. .5. Okay, let's go back. So we select VMware and then we go and select version which we want. Update 3. It's not embedded as such, so we go and select ESX version 7.0 is there. The more option you leave open like this, like over here, you'll get more selections. It says 0. So when we come to here, we need to understand what we are basically going to select. So we are going to select vulnerability patches, so they will be named a little bit differently. We'll see them here. Wait, if I go next, yeah, it's still not narrowing
If you
down.
scroll it further, it will show you the type, the slider at the bottom.
Yeah, these ones important and all that. Yeah,
Yeah, so you have host extension and you have other options under the type.
yeah, these ones, so we can narrow them down, I guess. And then we have like important severity as well. And also notice here, over here it's also says reboot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maintenance. So some patches may require it and some doesn't, so that is also very important. So well, for the purpose of our demo, let's select something, right? All these are not applicable because obviously for us we are running virtual environment, virtual ESX. Let's see whether I can increase the size. Let's go back and see whether we can change it to important. You can select multiple of them. Okay, let's put on any and bug fixes. Still over here, when we come here, we still need to go through each one of them. Okay, let's quickly whisk through them, and what we'll do is we'll select a couple of them and then we can remove the ones which we don't need later. But this is the time consuming bit, because you need to understand what you are selecting. If you are selecting only important, then we only select important ones, and we need to check whether we are, see, moderate are also getting selected, so it shouldn't, maybe this is not working as it should be. So we select critical. Okay, let's select next and add bunch of pages. It'll only install the ones it needs anyway. Then we can undo it. Once it is created, we can select. Obviously in this window it's a little bit hard to select what we want to and all, so let's try to do that. Okay, so we are done here. Let's move to next. So that's all what we have selected. Yeah, and you can see each and every one which we have actually selected, and click on finish, and there you go. You can see your new March roll up just down there. Okay, now you can select these and you can select the ESX host which you want to deploy. Once you select the baseline, it will show you the host, right? You can see that, and then that's basically how you create a baseline. Now you would then also create a baseline for, say for example, if you have a driver, cancel that, sorry, attach create a new baseline. If you have an extension or what I was calling a web for drivers and all that, so you basically say patch, maybe we call it storage driver or storage, and we can mix, maybe I would keep network drivers and storage separately. Patch for network, maybe let's call it network, and then basically to remember you need to put a date, right? So March 2022, and then click next, and then select, say for example if it is Broadcom, this one, select that and then click finish. So now you have your network and you have your baseline here, and then attach again. You will also need some folks who have storages running, they might need the storage drivers, you know, to be under support. So we can say storage drivers, and this is basically third-party drivers, version 8.9 maybe. Okay, so Dell EMC driver or something like that, example. Okay, and then you can put a date. We don't need a date, so we know the version of the storage driver, that's what we are putting here. Okay, so maybe it's like, doesn't matter, Dell 3 power, you know, drivers version 8.9, and that's extension. Click next, and then over here you basically go, once you upload the extensions, you just go and select which extensions it is, and then or the web, because actually they are going to be the webs, right? The vSphere installable bundle, you just select that webs, and then just randomly I'm going to select one. Okay, it doesn't matter at the moment, but that's what you will be doing, and then finish. That's a network driver, by the way. Okay, so these things are there. I'm not going to remediate this one because it is just as a demo. I'm showing you how to create this. Now we got 3 different things. You'll be doing 3 different things in to be able to bring your host up to date. So to avoid that, what we can do is we can create and attach a baseline group. So we click on create and attach a baseline group. We can name it. So we can say March roll up baseline group, and then here we can say patch roll up March, and then network drivers maybe, and then storage drivers, and then type the version, and this could be network drivers if you're having Cisco, FNIC or ENIC drivers, NIC and ENIC, and that's how you basically name it, so you understand what it is, and then you add the following: update baseline, so you got the March baseline which will add. Okay, and then click next. Now you got both the patches which you will add. Now one is for network patches, which we already told you, and the other one is storage, right? So you got both of them, and then we click next. So now you have one single baseline group which has your extensions for network and your storage drivers. Extension is basically the vSphere installable bundle. For your network drivers, maybe FNIC and ENIC, or your storage drivers, whichever latest version you have got, you download it from your storage website or your storage vendor, and the drivers from your hardware vendor, which server you're running, or sometimes VMware does it as well on their website, so you download them. The webs basically needs to be uploaded first. I don't have a web, so I can't show you, but it's quite simple. Just upload it, and then you will find those, and then you just attach it in this group. And then at the same time, you're also adding the March rollup, which we already created in the first instance. Now obviously we have just done it very quickly and we didn't select exactly what we wanted, but you get the idea what you have to do. So you need to be careful and select exactly the patches for your version of ESXOs. Don't select for version, older version like 6.5 or 6.7. If you don't have them, it will just simply, waste your time. So just select the, patches or security vulnerability patches for the version of the host you're running in your environment. And then once that is done, click on finish, and now you got a baseline group. Right now you select that baseline group, and then you can basically attach this baseline group, yeah, to your excuse me. Now there's two ways to do it, so let's do it from here. So I would do it from here. So this is the updates, right? So host installed on the ESX host. So this is the version build version for this particular one. Now I don't want to touch this one. This is basically Intel NUC, and I have a custom driver on there. So let's pick up this one, and then basically you can remediate all these patches to this particular host. Now when you say attach, you select the baseline group and then you attach. And then click attach. Okay, so that's basically attached now. So once it is attached, now what we have to do is remediate it. So for remediation, let's go back to host. Select that. Hang on, let's. So this is how we'll do. So we can either attach the baseline to the entire cluster here on the top level, or you can do it individually to each ESX host. Okay, so say for example, if you are doing it, if you're attaching it to the entire cluster, you go on the cluster and select the cluster, and then go down and select attach baseline, and then you select the March rollout baseline group, and then click on attach. So now this baseline is attached on the cluster level. Okay, so that's one thing done. Now what we are going to do is, when we select to remediate, we select the baseline which we are remediating, and then you can see everything in that baseline, yeah, which it's attached to. So it's baseline group which is attached, this baseline is attached, patch roll up till March, yeah, so that's all attached. And you can see that at the moment it's trying to say this is non-compliant, this is unknown, and all that. So what we will do is, again, these two sections we are working on. It's attaching and then detaching, staging, and remediating. So this is the section you'll be working on now. So remember, what we'll be doing is, we basically are going to select one of them. So say for example, if I want to just do it on this one, okay, so I am already on that particular ESX host, you can see it. I will say baseline, it should be already attached, right? Yeah, it's already attached. So I can say stage. So it's saying it's going to stage 285 patches. So that staging, what is staging? Does anyone know? Ruparanjan and Sonia?
No, sir.
Basically staging.
No, I was gonna ask you the difference between staging and remediation.
Who?
I was gonna ask you the difference between staging and remediation.
Yes, yeah, that's a good question. So basically, staging is when you remediate, what happens is it installs it. Okay, but what you can do is if you are pushing a lot of patches like this, and if you haven't rebooted your server like mine for 3 years, no, I'm lying, I have rebooted it many times, but I haven't updated it, let's put it that way. So there are a lot of patches we need to copy and all that. So staging process is basically does it in two ways. So to install something, what you have to do, you have to copy the data first and then you will install it, right? So staging process is nothing but copying all the patches which you have planned to roll out. So what it does, it does is uses it copies the data to your ESX servers. Yeah, and that is all staging done, and it will say staging completed. And then when you go back, there won't be staging option available because it's already staged. The patches are there, they have been extracted, and everything is ready for you to remediate. So you can say in environments, you can say in the daytime you do all the staging, saves you time copying all the files, and in the evening when you have your change ready, you can just go and click remediate. Before doing that, obviously you need to put on maintenance mode, and then you can remediate. So that saves you at least, you know, good 10 minutes or 5 minutes on each server, maybe, because obviously you're stopping the you know you're not delaying on copying the data at a time when you have, you know, or your backups or anything running at that time. So imagine you 6 o'clock you start to do your job and you start to stage, and at the same time backups are running, it's quite busy network, you'll see performance, well, not performance, you'll see delays, right? Because it's going to take longer to copy data. So that example, I'm giving you a use case basically. But even if I'm doing today and right now, what I can do is I can basically just say stage and then copy all those files, stage, click next, and then it will copy all the files. And then basically once it is copied, then I say remediate, and then I select the host, and you can see only one host is selected. Click on remediate, and then it will basically install those patches. Now we don't have a particular server here which I can use, I can't remember. These are all physical, and I don't want to touch any physical ones.
So if it has already copied, isn't it kind of installation done already? When in our word, when we say staging, it normally indicates that we are setting up the environment.
Staging in here is copying the ESX patches or webs or anything what you want to say. So what happens is, when, say for example, I want to upgrade my Windows 10 in this instance to Windows 11. Okay, so I have done staging. Well, obviously I'm using a bad example here, right? But what I have done is I have went to Microsoft website and I have downloaded the uh, ISO, let's put it that way. Okay, so I got that. Where is it? So it's been downloaded, it's here. Okay, English International. So this is something like staging. So if I want to do my, if I plan my upgrade of upgrading my server, my laptop to Windows 11, I still need to get this file, right? Downloaded, correct?
Yeah.
So if I do that, when, say for example, I want to do it tonight after 6 o'clock, if I go and try to do that at that time, this file, it took 12 minutes to download from the Microsoft website. See how big it is, right? 5 gig. So at least now I know, by staging this, basically I have downloaded these files already and it's there, it's ready. When I click on remediate, all I have to do is double click and start the setup, and it will start installing. This two different thing. Copying the file doesn't mean that you have installed it. Installing means it is updating the functionality. It is basically opening the binaries and installing it, updating the, you know, fixing the bugs which it has, because security patches you are doing, right? So all the bugs which it has, it's going to be patching those. It's going to remove some functionality which has vulnerabilities. It's going to add some functionality. So that only happens when you actually execute the file. If you have an exe, if you copy it, it doesn't mean that it has been installed. To install the exe file, you need to double click and install it. So that is the difference here. So staging and remediation, that is the difference. Got it?
Got it.
Nice. Okay, so that's what it is here. And then lastly, so that's basically it. So basically you select the ESX host. Maybe we haven't got any ESX host which is lying around here unfortunately, which I can use for remediation, but the process would be the same. Basically stage it, right, which will stage all the patches, and this is upgrading from version 7.0 to update 3 maybe. Okay, we stage it and then click next, and then once it is staged, it basically will copy all these files which we have selected. Can you see that? And this is all of a lot of rubbish we selected which we don't even need. So we need to go back and revisit and understand what exactly you need to select when you do a baseline properly. Okay, and then once that is done, you remediate, and that's how it is going to remediate it. Now the last bit which I wanted to cover is the if we go back on updates, let's go back here and we go back to image. So we started doing this but we didn't complete it, right? Now there was a way to upload images. So it's already saying what is compliant and not. Okay, so if we go to images, no, see, this is why this version is a little bit new. So check compliance is there. Do I need to be on a certain level to do that? Images, import image. See, this is again, so I need to be selecting the cluster and then I can say import image. Okay, so if I click on import image, browse, do I have one? Might have one. Don't have a latest version anyway, but let's see. Is it looking for a JSON file? So if I select that and click on open, so that's how you would update the new version of ESX. Now this basically image is going to be used to upgrade the ESX which is running from 6.7 to new version. Okay, but I'm not very convinced here what is happening. You can import an image by selecting a JSON file or enter the right URL. Okay, click on next, enable to read or import. I knew it, it's not the right one. Okay, manage with a single image. Lifecycle manager enables you to have all hosts in a cluster inherit the same image. Acha. Between hosts, using a single image means faster upgrade improvement. So this is not that. So basically this image, single image managed by a single image, is a new thing which they have introduced in Lifecycle Manager. I read about this briefly. So basically what they will do is they ask you to upload image, okay, thus removing the variability between the host using a single image. If we only have a single image and not different versions lingering around, it will make your environment consistent and easy, right? It will be easy for you to deploy the patches, and it will be easy for you to deploy any service packs and not service packs, sorry, the drivers and everything. because you're actually in the entire cluster, you're going to have a single image. So that's what it is. This is why it was asking for a JSON file. But I'm pretty sure there was an option for upgrading as well. You can add ESX host ISO there and you can upgrade it. Maybe they have removed it. So, but from the point of view of patching, this is how it is done. This, you basically create a rollup for patches, and then you create a rollup for your network drivers, a rollup for your storage drivers. Not a rollup, basically you get the latest drivers for storage and networks, and that's about it, right? And then you create a rollup for, when I say rollup, all the patches till this particular month, that's what I mean. And for that, it's a very easy way to do that, where you basically select the date on or before section which I showed you, right? And that's how you do that, and that's it. Once you have all these three, then you want to bundle them in one. So this is why you create this group section here. Can you see that it says group? And in that group, you basically added the patches first, and then you added your network drivers, and then you finally you add your storage driver, and then now you have a group of baseline, which basically is allowed, enabling you to deploy all these in one go. Any questions, guys? What I want you to do is, obviously, when you create your own in your own data centers, when you create it, go through the patches and select only the one which is applicable for version 7.3, and everything else, you obviously your versions are already 7.0.0, so you need to go and select the versions. I think that's something which we missed out. We should have done that. We should have basically selected only version 7.0.3 and narrow down all the files from there, and that would have been right option, something like this. I'll try and explain again. No, let's go back here. Create, say April, just as an example, patches. Next, it's not embedded ESX, this one we need to select these two, and then we just select security, untick any, critical security only here, and then we basically say everything till 9th of April. And we forgot the main thing, VMware. Let's see here. देखो embedded करके बता रहा, but I think this should be it. Zero matches is saying critical. Next, so once you're here, again you have to do the same exercise where you have to select everything which is for this version. So you narrow down from this, then you try to get the version 3.0. There you go, like that. So you're selecting the right version, 3.0.3. Okay, and there is only one patch in that. I'm surprised with that. Let's go back and select any and see whether we get more. Okay, that's better. Click next. then go back here, you'll select version, important patches like these, right? And then you need to select certain patches which you think are important. Once you're done, obviously from this point of view, example, you select this one and you can see whichever we select, it will say whether it's going to reboot or not, right? So mine is not HP, but obviously from that point of view, that's one way to do it. So you see the version number and you decide which one you want. Now one more thing which I think which we need to understand is your vCenter needs to be available to go out and get the patches automatically. I guess from my side it's a generic build, it doesn't have any more firewalls and anything in middle, so it's basically going out and getting those patches. Now there is another service which VMware does, is called VMware download service. Now they they used to have this in Windows before. We used to call it VMware download server. So that server was like a bridge where you download all the patches on that one and your vCenter goes and talk to that server. Now in version 6.5, 6.7, they used to have this download server in Windows. Now they basically are ditching Windows again. So they only have a Linux based server, and maybe you might be able to remember that, because it could be a question which can be asked in interviews or somewhere, like obviously how would you patch servers which are behind firewalls, so you can say that you have a service from VMware which is called download server, and then that service helps you to download all the patches, because that server can be allowed on to go and talk to VMware and download all the patches. And once it has the patches, you can point all the vCenters. You might not have only one, right? You might have like multiple vCenters. You can point all your vCenters to that download server and they will pull the patches from there. Does it make sense? Okay, more we can learn on this when you actually do this process. But remember, put your host on maintenance mode when you're doing this, because all those patches which you are going to select is going to enable going to have reboot option anyway. So put it on maintenance mode and do it, and that's how I would recommend you to do it. Any questions?
So the last service that you mentioned, where we enable one server to download all the updates, is that something like it? Does it have a name in specific?
VMware download server.
Okay.
Yeah. So VMware. VDS we used to call it, but every company can call anything really. But VMware. Let's see what they are calling it now. अपडेट मैनेजर डाउनलोड सर्विस, UMDS बोलते हैं उसको. ये देखो UMDS, there you go. Yeah, you're right, and I took a wrong name there. What is the update manager download? So UMDS. So the UMDS basically is an optional module of update manager. UMDS download updates of virtual appliances, patch metadata, patch binaries and all those. Okay, so update 6.7 supports patch recall notifications and all that. So this is it basically. Yeah, the only difference is, okay, this is how you point it to the right repository. So basically it, and also it shows you when it is running and not. This used to be a Windows one, but now this is, as you can see, it's a Linux based one. It's by David Steinman. It's a good blog, but this is only on, so we know the name, let's search for it. UMDS. So the latest thing about this, the most latest things about UMDS is, and patching you need to remember, is the removal of Windows based UMDS. So there used to be an EXE you can download, you can install a Windows server, and then you can install this service, UMDS service, on it. And that used to be always Windows. So there was a dependency, even though we removed like originally when Update Manager came, it was a Windows based service, and then it was basically integrated with in 5.5 I'm telling, right? And it was integrated with vCetner when 6.5 came along. So we did not needed that Update Manager Windows server anymore, but still we still have to use a Windows based server where you are behind a firewall and your vCenters are not allowed to go and talk to the internet or VMware website for downloads. But now recently with version 7, it's a strict guideline. They said that from version 7 it's going to be only Linux based. So you download server, they can do all this, and it's a part of setup is there. But yeah, that's the only thing to remember. So it's a Linux based SUSE appliance again, not SUSE, sorry, Photon OS appliance, the proprietary of VMware. That's all it is. Okay guys, and there's a lot of links here about update virtual machine with Lifecycle Manager and all that. Go through this page, it is a really nice one. I'll send it to you on chat. So like this one, setup and path and all that, because they are required. It won't be anything you will be doing on your interview questions or anything. No one will ask you that, but it's something which is good to know, right? Obviously, if someone asks like how would you patch, so there's a server which is basically used for it. It's called Update Manager Download Service, UMDS, and you need to have that, and you can configure it where you can have it facing the internet and all your vCenter internally facing the UMDS server, so it's all safe and secure, and you have a single point of download, and everything works from there. Okay, any questions?
No.
So I think what we should be doing is, obviously in next session, this obviously we it's a huge topic and we just started doing it. In the next session, if you guys prepare your baselines, we can start doing patching, or you can do it on your own, or if you want, we can use the next session to do patching on these servers and try to bring them to update 1. Okay, that's what I'm thinking. And in the meantime, as I was talking about the image, let me figure out whether there's a way to do it, and if I upload it, then that's another way of updating these to version 3. So let me research into that as well. So they are running which version? 7.0.0, right? So the latest one will be 7.0.3 with some extensions on there, like build number, a new build number there. So that's what we can do. So any questions so far, Rupranjan? I think we're almost at the end of our sessions now. It's up to you what you want to do next session. We can do this as a practical session next week where you can do it on your ESX host and stuff like that, Sonia and Rupranjan, and then we should be able to start the final module, which is advanced troubleshooting.
In few days we'll do some complete lab.
Okay.
So 0 to 8 again. We'll rebuild once again.
Okay, that's fine. It's up to you when if you want to do that again. There was another module I wanted to touch, which is VROps. We realize operation mode. Nothing to do with our course, but there is a monitoring tool from VMware which is pretty cool. It's built by VMware. It used to call operations manager earlier in the days, and now it's called vRealize operations manager, VROps we call it in short. And amazingly, like it or not, it is the top video on my channel at the moment on version 7 which I built. So I think it's about time to do a new video on that one for building a VROps version 8, because version 8 is released, and then obviously we can run it for a couple of days, and then we'll see how it has a lot of recommendations. It can guide you on capacity planning, on right sizing. So it's a really cool tool to do troubleshooting as well, where you can narrow down the problems. You can see where your memory has grown over the time, whether someone has done some change in their application and all of a sudden their application started using you know 30% more memory or something like that, right? So those sort of things can be easily picked up, and it helps you immensely in troubleshooting, capacity planning and all that. So if you guys are interested only, we can do a session on that one as well. And I will not install, I will just download those VROps, and I'll try to create a Visio overlay of how we can deploy it. I'm thinking, like, it's a big product, so it will have something called remote collectors. It has an analytical node, a data node, so I need to prepare some slides as well around it, so you guys can understand. So it's up to you. If you do want it, I was planning to do a session on it anyway. I can do it during the class. We can go through some slides and some architectural overview, and then we can start deploying it, and then once we deploy it, we can start playing around with it. And then next week, after we let it run for a week, we can do another session where we can use the analytical data which has been collected, and we can go through it to actually understand how it is used and all that. So that will be a good exercise, and it will give you another couple of weeks with me. It's up to you guys. And in the advanced troubleshooting section, that is what I was going to plan and work with you guys on VROps. Okay?
Yeah, sure. That would be great, Ibrahim.
Okay, so I'll download and keep it ready for next week's session. Let's see how it goes. If you want to do patches on your host, and we can just do a session on that. And then finally, once we have done, we will start deploying VROps, and then next week we'll do the troubleshooting on using VROps. So 1 week for deploying and 1 week for troubleshooting. So pretty much I'll take another 3 weeks and we'll be done. And then there's no restriction for you guys to stop using it. We can continue another week or so, and then you can still as Rupranjan was saying, he want to scratch the lab down and rebuild it from scratch, tear it down and rebuild from scratch. You can do that, or you can still use it for practicing, and we can have a chat on that. With if you have any questions, we can go through as well, so don't worry about that.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right, then let's call it a day. It's 1 o'clock. We started at 11,
Yeah.
12
Yeah.
and 1. 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
Okay, not too bad. I think I have been worst in the past as well, right? All right, then let's call it a day. Enjoy your weekend, guys. I think because daylight saving has happened here, I'm getting an extra hour of sleep, and I really needed it because I'm waking up for sahur as well for 4 o'clock in the morning, and I think I got good 6 hours sleep today. I remember last week I was up and sitting here rubbing my eyes 10 o'clock, and you guys were not even there. It's like abhi ek ghanta baki hai, you still have an hour. So that was good, yeah. All right, you guys enjoy your weekend. Cheers, bye.
Thanks, you too.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Thank you very much for watching. Comment down below and let me know if you liked today's topic. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and hit the notification bell to get all new updates from me. My blog is agileops.co.uk. Be sure to subscribe to my blog because all the videos which I am covering on my YouTube channel, I'll be posting blog posts around it, so you can follow with step-by-step instructions with screenshots. I would love to hear from you, so you can follow me on Twitter and send me a message on Twitter, or you can send me a direct message at Ibrahim Quraishi, as you can see here. Enjoy watching and keep sharing. Cheers, bye.